Now that we have talked about what polynomials are, and we've looked at one property of polynomials, its degree, we've also looked at how to classify polynomials in terms of how many terms, as monomials, binomials, and trinomials, and we've talked about the number in front of the variable as being the coefficient. We're now ready to talk about simplifying polynomials. So we have these objects, and one of the things we like to do in math is we like to be able to kind of apply arithmetic to them. And one of the things, just like a fraction, we'd like to be able to simplify polynomials. The good news is we already know how to do this. So we're back to our idea of combining like terms. Back to our idea of combining like terms, just like we've talked about many times before. Remember, if the variables are the same, we can put the number terms together, the coefficients together, to get our result. So let's look at a couple of examples here with simplifying polynomials by combining like terms. So we begin first with a polynomial involving the variable just x, so that it only has the one variable in it. We have negative 3x squared plus 12x minus 15x plus 2x squared plus 5. So there's a couple of ways to go about these. This first one I'm going to rearrange. Remember, we can rearrange addition and subtraction as long as we keep the sign in front of each term. We can move them around any way we want in an addition or subtraction problem. So I can rewrite this negative 3x squared plus 2x squared, right, putting my x squared terms together. And then I move on to my x terms, where I see that I have a 12x and a minus 15x, so I'm going to write those beside each other. And then I have that plus 5, which doesn't have any other number term. And so then we're going to go through and we're going to start to combine. So first we do our x squareds, putting our numbers together. Negative 3 plus 2 would make that minus 1, and then we keep the variable x squared. If you want to write that down as just minus x squared, dropping the 1, you're certainly free to do that when the coefficient's 1. We then move to our 12x minus 15 part of the problem, and we do 12 minus 15, which will be negative 3, so it'll be minus 3x, keep the variable, and then the last piece, which doesn't have anything combined with, is just plus 5. So we get our answer, minus 1x squared minus 3x plus 5. Okay, so let's move on to our next example. This time I'm not going to go through the trouble of rearranging stuff. That requires a little bit of extra writing. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently, and you may feel, this is maybe the way you might want to do them. So our problem here first is negative 42x squared y plus 7x minus 14y plus 24x squared y minus 15y plus 20x. Remember, again, like terms need to have the same variables raised to the same powers. So we have x's and y's all throughout this problem. But when it comes to simplifying and combining things, we can only combine those things where the variable parts are identical. So, for instance, the negative 42x squared y and the 24x squared y, those are like terms. So I'm just going to kind of underline those if you, or if you're doing this on paper and you have some highlighters around. I think highlighters are a great tool for math. You can just highlight your like terms. Here I have a 7x, so it has just the x, so I'm going to pair that with the other thing that has an x, which would be 20x, and then I also would pair up my y's, minus 14y and minus 15y. So this time, instead of rewriting it, I've kind of underlined or highlighted. Highlighting doesn't really work great on this app, that's why I did the underlining. And then we just go through and we start to simplify. So we do our blue first, we put those together. Right, so negative 42 plus 24 is going to be a negative 16, and we keep the variable piece. So negative 16x squared y. Okay, I'm going to move on next to my x's. I have my 7 and my 20. So a positive 7 plus a positive 20 is going to be 27x. And then I'm going to put my y's together. I have a minus 14 and a minus 15. Minus 14 plus minus 15 would be minus 29y. And then that's all the further we go. We can go, actually. We don't go any further because we can't go any further. Because nothing left is a like term. They don't have the exact same variable parts, so we are not able to put them together. Let's do one more example. Let's consider the polynomial 21x squared minus 43 plus 2x minus 8x plus 27. Once again, we want to pair up our like terms. So the first one I see there is a 21x squared. Unfortunately, as I look through everything that's left, there are no other x squareds to go with that, so that's it for that one. I have a 43 here, negative 43. I compare that with my other number term, which is a 27. And then I have a 2x and a minus 8x. So I pair those up together. And now we go through and we just start to simplify. There's nothing for the x squared to go with, so that term stays as it is. I'm going to usually write these down in order of decreasing exponents on the variable, so I'm going to jump to the 2x minus 8x. 2 minus 8 is minus 6x. And then I'll do the number term at the end. Negative 43 plus 27 is negative 16. Okay, so we get our result, 21x squared minus 6x minus 16. Okay, so that wraps up simplifying polynomials. In the next video, we're going to look at adding and subtracting, which you're going to find actually isn't much different than what we've just been doing.